Hey, I hope you all made it over here. I do apologize. You already know this internet is kind of squirrely out here, so I had to do another live. Hope you all can transfer over from my one live to the next. I'm still trying to set up because I had one set up ready to go, and due to the point in my internet not working over there, I have to kind of rearrange some things. So please bear with me. It's a beautiful morning, though. I must agree that it is a beautiful morning. It's already nice and warm too this morning. Y'all see Annabelle back there in the background? I ran out of gas, y'all. Again. Yeah, I got a little too ambitious and I got to get some diesel. Hope I don't have to prime again, but if I do, I know what to do. I know it's not the thing to do to run out of gas on machines, but I did. Yeah, I ran out of gas. Me and Miss Annabelle, we're going at it. I'm trying to get everything together. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. Let's see. All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me get some things together. I'll be right back, okay? All right, I think I got everything put together. Let me just connect. Let me connect my Swiss gear, my, my portable battery. I'm gonna connect that. So hopefully I can have a little juice to do this live here. Thank you all for y'all patience. Thank you for coming in. Bless up, bless up. It's a beautiful morning. What's up, Gigi? Good morning, beautiful. How y'all doing? I had to change up because my setup had it ready, had everything laid out, but for some reason it did not work. So you know what you have to do sometimes? You have to change it up. You have to adjust. And sometimes, who we have in the chat? Good morning, Tammy. How you doing? All in the soil. How you doing? Gigi, what's going on? Shy, what's going on this morning? I need to put this chat somewhere else so my big finger won't be in here. Good morning to you all. Good morning. Shine Moss Farm, how you doing? So, have there ever been a time, if you can kind of go back to your youth and think about, was there ever a time where it could have been your brothers or your sisters or your cousins or even your friends? They were getting ready to go on a trip. They were getting ready to go on to a sighting trip, and even though they was getting ready to go on that trip, you couldn't go for whatever reason. Or have you ever found a friend where they won a cruise or something and they invited you, but you couldn't go? You know, there comes a point in all of our lives where, you know, we see opportunities, we see things, but because of our situation, our current situation, or even our goals and our expectations, we just can't go, you know? Even though we wish we could, but for whatever reason, we just can't go, y'all. I want to talk to you. I want to share with you a story about a neighbor of mine. And my neighbor has taught me a lifelong lesson. This neighbor of mine was my neighbor for quite some time throughout my childhood. And this video is dedicated to Annie Lou. So if y'all can in the chat, um, hashtag Annie Lou. Y'all hashtag Annie Lou. Storming here. I love vicariously through You since you can't go. Yeah, sometimes we can't go outside, you know. It's a lot of things sometimes we can't do. You know, we wish we could, you know. It's a beautiful morning here. The sun is shining. I'm here up underneath the canopy trees because of the sun. It's not bright, bright, but it's beautiful, y'all. But if y'all can, hashtag Annie Lou hashtag, because this is what this video is about. I'm dedicating this video to my neighbor, Miss Annie Lou. Miss Annie Lou, let me just kind of give you a little back history about Miss Annie Lou. And I'm going to set up the scene too on top of that. So here it was when I was a child. I My mom stayed in one trailer and Miss Annie Lou stayed in the next trailer, right? And Miss Annie Lou, she was a single mom. She had about 5 kids. I think she had 6 total, one lost. But they were pretty much adults whenever I came onto the scene. This was like back in the early 80s all the way through the 90s, right? Now, the trailer that they lived in, it was a piece together trailer. Thank you, thank you. Who dropped something? Be rich. Man, much love to you. Much love to you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. D Jackson, how you doing? Roots to a garden. My Renaissance. What's up, beautiful? But Miss Annie Lou, she was a single mom, and the trailer, like I said, it was pieced together. It was probably the transition into what we would call nowadays a double wide, but it was 2 single wide pieces of trailers put together. But Annie Lou, excuse me, she was a beautiful woman. Miss Annie Lou, I'm gonna tell you some of the things that she would do. Uh, she would even babysit me, and I would sleep with her as my mom was going to school. She was a nurse. She was going to school, working 2 jobs, and sometimes when my mom worked from 11 to 7, about around 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the middle of the night, we would walk because we lived in the country and we lived on the outskirts of town, and it'd be pitch black dark, and my mom would walk me half asleep over to Miss Annie Lou, and Miss Annie Lou would put me in the bed with her and I go to sleep. You know, she was loving, she was caring. She her A couple of her kids still stayed there at the house, even though they was grown. They worked, they took care of business. Um, but her youngest daughter, she had some medical issues and what have you, so she stayed there with her as well. But Miss Annie Lou, the setting, South Georgia, mud was everywhere, surrounded by woods, a little dirt road in front of us. But on the other side of the dirt road were the Abbotts. So we got 2 families. We got Miss Annie Lou and we got the Abbotts. The Abbotts, they owned a little, what you call a little, not a grocery store, but it was a little tin box of a shed slash store. And they sold fruits, vegetables, eggs, whatever was in season, they sold it. And next to that store was a kind of semi-attached, was the back end of an ice cream truck. And the ice cream truck was taken off the axle of the bus and or truck, and it was placed on a concrete pad. So that's kind of give you a little idea. Now the Abbotts, they stayed directly on the other side of the store. They had a beautiful yard, had beautiful azaleas. It was like a courtyard, had a swing, even had a bird bath and all those different things. But outside there was little shacks all over the property. And some of those shacks were ice houses where you had cinder blocks and a bunch of AC units just pumping air. That's where they kept their cold storage. We're talking about early 80s. We're talking about straight, living off the earth, straight making use of what you had. But going back to Miss Annie Lou, Miss Annie Lou moved from the country, deep country, on the farm. She worked the farm, and then she moved with that family, the Abbotts. So Miss Annie Lou took care of the Abbotts. But let me share with you a day in the life of Miss Annie Lou. Miss Annie Lou would get up before daybreak, before the birds got to singing, while the owls were still moving, right? She'd get up with her bag, and you could hear her shuffling her feet, walking across the road. and she'll walk across the road early in the morning. She'll cut the lights on in the store, and she'll also work and go into the house. She'll turn on the lights early in the morning at the house, and as she walked up the stairs to the house, she would slowly kind of wake the family up. So the family would comprise of Mr. Abbott, Miss Abbott, and then their grandson, and then she pretty much raised their grandson, right? And he had some special needs as well, but he could do for himself. He could clothe himself, do everything. But Miss Annie Lou would begin breakfast before sunrise, and by the time sun rose, breakfast would be complete. Miss Annie Lou would go and she would prepare the table. She would lay the table out like it was a high-end restaurant. They would have napkins. I'm talking about cloth napkins. They would have silverware, plates, cups, glasses, not plastic cups or nothing like this. And then the family would come in, not just Mr. Abbott, Miss Abbott, and the grandson, but also his dad and his cousin and a couple of other kin people. They would come in, and every morning this would happen now. So she would come and fix the food after she cooked it, and then they would go among their way. Some people worked the farm. Mr. Abbott would work the store. Miss Abbott would go to the store as well. But first, Miss Abbott had to go in. Miss Abbott loved smoking. She smoked all day, but she had her certain routine, you know what I'm saying? So Miss Annie Lou would go and clear the table. Once she cleared the table, she would make up the beds. She would clean, wash the dishes, and get the kitchen, the dining room, and then she'll do a little light cleaning. Then she would go out of the house, go into the store, and a lot of times people wanted to interact with Miss Annie Lou, right? She wanted to make sure she provided great customer service, right? So Miss Annie Lou would go and serve the customers and give them a smile and do whatever she had to do. And then Miss Abbott would slowly come, and she'll come out. And then when Miss Abbott came out, Miss Annie Lou would go back into the house, right? And once she go into the house, she start preparing what we call in the South dinner. Once she start cooking, preparing dinner, she would also go outside, wash the clothes while something be cooking on the pot. She'll also sweep, finish the light cleaning, and then she'll check on the store. She'll come back in and she'll finish the dinner. And by the time around pretty much every day around about around 12 o'clock, Miss Abbott would first come in and she would sit down and watch her favorite stories on television. She would read the paper, cross her legs, sit in the parlor because they had a parlor, and she would watch the she would watch the stories. You know, she loved Young and the Restless and all of them, One Life to Live. And meanwhile, Miss Annie Lou would have dinner ready, and then once again we'll replay breakfast. Everyone would come in, and sometimes a few additional. Sometimes I got to sit in and watch, and I had a little high chair. I got a chair that I sit back here in the back. It's kind of like a high chair in a way, but it's a dope high chair, and it was tucked away in the corner. It was almost like a step ladder. But I would sit there sometimes because Miss Annie Lou would babysit me. Sometimes my mom would be working, you know. She would babysit me as she had time to babysit me. But, you know, I knew the area. I would ride my bicycle. I would play. I'd play in the mud, play in the dirt, go in the store. They had a bunch of different dogs and different animals. Going back to Miss Annie Lou, once dinner was served, everything was washed and clean. She would finish her day, whether she cleaned fish, because of course every Thursday morning about 4:30, 5 o'clock, a fish truck would come in, and guess who was there? Miss Annie Lou. Miss Annie Lou would be the only person there to go and meet the fish guy, and then they would unload mullets, brims, all kinds, catfish, all kinds of different fresh fish. Every single Thursday, the truck would come in, right? And when that truck came in, she would load up. They had a little ice maker. She would shovel the ice, and she would take the ice, and then she'll put in and sweep out and clean out. The day prior, she would bleach out her and Miss I forgot her, Miss Moore. So the Moores, let's talk about the Moores. The Moores were also worked at the store. The Moors is what we would call in this day and time homeless. But were they really homeless? It was Mr. Moore, Miss Moore, and little Jimmy Moore. Jimmy Moore was not so little. He was a fairly thick little joker. You know what I'm saying? He was probably in his late teens. But all of them, plus two chihuahuas, would sleep in the parking lot of this store. And they lived in a truck. And this truck was like packed with papers and clothing. But three of them into this Chevrolet single cab, about maybe 70s, late 70s Chevrolet C10, or Cheyenne, what we would call, or Silverado in the day's term. But they would sleep in the cab of this truck. Of course, they wasn't well groomed. They weren't the most fresh smelling people, but they did the best that they could. I know that they took baths in the creeks from time to time. We had a small creek down the street from us, and all of these things I observed as a child, and I watched Miss Annie Lou. She treated everybody equal. Sometimes they'll shell peas, she'll clean the fish, she'll fillet the fish. If people wanted fillet fish, they wanted WO eggs, they cleaned the eggs. And sometimes they have chicks. She'll take care of the chicks, she'll feed the chicks. And then she'll take breaks. When she took breaks to either go eat, or she would go and check on the house across the street where her daughter lived. And then she'll come back, and we're not talking about no hour-long break. We're not talking about no 20. These were short breaks. And as the day ended, Miss Annie Lou would then prepare a light meal for their end of the day. There were no store hours. The store hours started when the first customer came and when the last customer left. On Fridays were like big days because everybody in the country used to go, and they had to have fish every single Friday. So the parking area, which was nothing but mud and clay, but when it didn't rain, it was hard clay, like concrete. And there would be 20 and 30 cars out there, and people would talk and fellowship, and they'd go all into the night, to even sometimes like 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. People would still be out there talking and buying fish and buying eggs and vegetables, right? And guess who was there? Miss Annie Lou was still there. Miss Annie Lou worked tirelessly. Miss Annie Lou has taught me that everybody can't go. And what I mean by everybody can't go, think about, there was times where family events happened. Sometimes she might have wanted to take a day off. Sometimes she might have wanted to take a vacation. But she was dedicated and committed to the Abbotts. She worked from a young age to an older age, well into her age, taking care of the Abbotts, making sure the Abbotts were taken care of. That was her purpose in life. She took pride in that. She didn't complain. She didn't blow off. She spoke her mind. To me, I felt like she was a part of the Abbotts, part of the family. You know, she really, really loved that family, right? Now, as I watched her grow up and time moved on, Miss Abbott passed. And then, of course, that meant more duties for Miss Annie Lou. And Miss Annie Lou, it was one day I'll never forget. One day, Miss Annie Lou was out washing and hanging out clothes. And Mr. Abbott, he got word as he was getting old, he was well into his 90s, he got word that because of his diabetes, they was gonna have to amputate his two legs, right? And he couldn't deal with it. He couldn't come to grips with that. And while she was hanging out clothes, he sat in the living room and blowed his brains out. And Miss Annie Lou ran up the hill and into the house to find Mr. Abbott gone. Not only did she lose Miss Abbott some years prior, but now Mr. Abbott was gone. And that was a challenging situation, because everything that Miss Annie Lou worked for and with, it was gone within a matter of a few years. Miss Annie Lou had struggles to deal with her purpose. One of her sons said, he talked to the only surviving member because Mr. Abbott's son had passed, but well before, due to health issues. And the only with the Abbotts was the daughter-in-law. And the daughter-in-law allowed Miss Annie to work the store, pay her for pretty much the profits, and then she would give some money as needed. Now, during this time, one of the payments were that pieced together trailer that Miss Annie Lou lived in, she could live there for the rest of her life. Mr. Abbott and Miss Abbott specifically told her that as long as you live, you can have this pieced together trailer. And the trailer wasn't perfect, but it was her home. It was her place. And it was where she invested her time. And she could only get one day a week. And part of that day she still worked, which was Sunday. The only time she got a whole day is when she went to church. And some of this stuff was probably what she wanted to do because she loved the family. She cared for the family. And she took pride in her work. It was nothing like it was negative or nothing demeaning about Miss Annie Lou. Miss Annie Lou was a strong woman. She was a brave woman. She was a committed woman. She is a hero of mine. Miss Annie Lou was my grandmother. Miss Annie Lou, I love her. I miss her. She worked real hard. She sacrificed her life. And every time I think about giving up, every time I think about something I don't want to do with it, I know I need to do, I think about Miss Annie Lou. Miss Annie Lou is my hero. Miss Annie Lou showed me dedication, hard work. She also showed me that love. There was never a day where I did not feel loved, did not feel cared for. There was never a time where she did not show me that she cared for me and loved me. Miss Annie Lou taught me valuable lessons in life, right? Miss Annie Lou is a beautiful, beautiful star. And going back to Miss Annie Lou, so here it is at the end of life. The store ended up slowly fizzling out. It just wasn't the same. Things just didn't move the same. And so they walked away from the store. And the store just sat there. It was like everything just stayed frozen in time. And the house that Miss Annie Lou took care of, it deteriorated. It started to fall in and everything just started to fall apart, right? And Miss Annie Lou health it wasn't the best. But that was the only time where I saw Miss Annie Lou sit down and rest, was after Mr. Abbott passed. That was the only time I saw Miss Annie Lou go and visit family members on a routine basis, was after Mr. Abbott passed. That was the only time that I saw her laughing and just doing nothing and laughing all the time and watching her favorite shows on TV. At night she did when she came home, but during the day, that was the only time I ever seen that. It was a beautiful view. But fast forward, there came a time where Mr. Abbott's daughter-in-law came and said, you all, Miss Annie Lou, need to leave and vacate the property. You need to get off the property. You need to be gone. Miss Annie Lou, once again, faced with something she never imagined in her life. She was now homeless, no place to go, and she had dedicated her whole life to the family. And now for this to happen, that just really just hit like a ton of bricks. So my uncle, my mom, they said we got to do something about it. It got to be something we could do about it. Most of our community, and what I mean by our community, African Americans, we don't know anything about real estate, especially in the late 70s and the 80s. Most of us never owned it. And the ones that did own it, it was wheeled down. All they know just pay taxes. It pay taxes, right? But she got a verbal commitment, but she didn't get nothing in writing. Even if Mr. Abbott would have wrote it down on a tablecloth or napkin or some type of sheet of paper, it would have been substantial enough to at least give her the opportunity to obtain that land. So here it was where she gave a short period of time for Miss Annie Lou to leave the property. And what was she going to do with it? I mean, negate that. Even though she took care of her son, raised the son with special needs, and looked after her son to become an adult, um, that still happened. That happened, y'all. And a lot of things that we say, and this was in the 90s, y'all. This was in the 90s. By that time, I was a young man, and it hurt my heart because I had so many memories there of that place. And they went, needless to say, my mom, my uncles, they went down to the county, they went to the courthouse, they went to questioning, and people were telling, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Unfortunately, if you don't have any documentation, there's nothing we can do. But when I say everybody can't go, everybody can't go. We got different goals, commitments, and sometimes we committed to life, and sometimes people obtain different things in life, right? And sometimes you got to leave people behind, right? And when you leave those behind, we interact with each other on a daily basis, but what do you leave the people that you leave behind with? Sometimes it's memory, sometimes it's motivation, sometimes it's encouragement, and sometimes it's abuse, neglect, and just cruelty. But we get to make the determination on what we leave behind, but we don't get the choice on whether we get left or not. And sometimes we get left behind in life, right? So there took one person at the courthouse, one individual. This lady, she said she was heartbroken, and I just need to look and check. Where is this land located? Where is it? Do you have a plat map? Do you have a parcel number? Do you have anything? They didn't have anything. They didn't know nothing about no parcel number, right? So the lady said, okay, give me the address. She looked at the address. The address was not really the address. It was Mr. Abbott's address. We've been using Mr. Abbott address for the longest, but we had multiple mailboxes, and the mailmen and everybody, they knew which box to put whose mail in. So needless to say, they looked and they looked, and they said it was a road, which was a dirt road, but that road, they had just recently noticed that this was a true road because there were multiple houses way in the back. So they annexed the road, right? They call it New Beginning Road. New Beginning Road. But it was New Beginning. But I call it New Beginning Road. New Beginning Road, it ended up that parcel of land that Miss Annie Lou lived on was not in Mr. Abbott's name. That parcel of land was not in Mr. Abbott's name. Let me say one more time. That parcel of land was not in Mr. Abbott's name. Matter of fact, the city, they didn't even know really about that parcel of land, right? Mr. Abbott, over the years, he just kind of matriculated over across and expanded his territory over a period of time. And then he pretty much claimed that land. But it was not his land. So needless to say, they went and they did some fact finding. They said, how can we obtain the land? And they said, we don't know how to estimate this land. This land doesn't have a structure. We haven't did any permits, nothing on this land. So we're going to assess it as pretty much raw land. And then we're going to grandfather whatever structure, whatever materials that are in there, right? And I think it was around $400 or $500 back taxes they had to pay for the land. And Miss Annie Lou kept her land. Miss Annie Lou kept her land. Later on, she obtained a brand new trailer. She got to live the rest of her days on her land, on which she worked tirelessly for decades. 7 days a week in most times of her life, the majority of her life. Imagine working for 40 and 50 years, 7 days a week from sun up to sundown. The only day you get off is when you go to church and Sunday afternoon around lunchtime. But every single day, she taught me that you keep working, you keep focusing, but get your house in order too. She taught me, make sure you learn about property. Make sure you learn about land. That's why I'm so adamant I am so committed. Me and Gigi, we so committed to teaching our people about obtaining property, obtaining land, because it's something in that. Even after I'm gone, if my kids or my grandkids want to liquidate whatever, at least they won't start at the bottom. At least they'll have a piece of what their grandfather or great grandfather worked for. And at least they'll understand that Miss Annie Lou's work was not in vain. Miss Annie Lou's life was not in vain. Most people won't even know Miss Annie Lou, but there's thousands, not millions, of Annie Lou's in our families. And we need to give honor to our Annie Lou's in life. So hashtag Annie Lou, and give love and give thanks for them working and paving the way that we can have a better day. So I encourage you all, don't take life for granted. Sometimes we have to work tirelessly, and it seems like we're not getting nowhere. It seems like we're not moving. It seems like things not going. But have trust and believe that you will one day get your reward. Just keep on focusing, keep on pressing forward. Because although it might have been 40 plus years of work, she got to spend 20 good years loving family, being with family, and just being close and enjoying the days to come. So I encourage you all to love one another, take care of one another, and just learn as much as you can. Don't just cut the lights on just to say, it's a light switch. Learn where the lights come from, what powers the lights. Don't just go to a job or build a career, become an entrepreneur, and just say, hey, I'm just doing this entrepreneur thing to pay the bills. Know what's behind that, what drives that. Learn more so you can teach others. And everything that you learn, teach our youth and teach someone who has not gone along that journey. Be there, be a resource to people. And truly, love on each other, y'all. We got a lot of oppositions in life, but somehow we got to stop hurting each other, stop killing each other, stop maiming, hating. We got to let that stuff go. And we got to slowly unite and be together as one. And understand those that are close to me, those that are with me, this right here is yours too. So understand that and know that. So y'all be blessed. Take care. Enjoy your Saturday. It's a beautiful Saturday. Miss Annie Lou, she overcame and she did everything. I want you to do the same thing. I want you to overcome. I want you to conquer. I want you to go about the day, enjoy your family. And if you're working, be grateful. Be grateful. So I leave you with that. Hope you all well. Take care. Be blessed. And don't forget to keep on growing. Grow. Thank you all. Thank you, Be Rich. Thank you, Gigi. D Jackson. Thank you. Hey, Howie. Thank you for coming in, Howie. Fresh fish, yeah. Hey, Erica. Thank you all for coming in. Mama J. Shout out to Mama J. Grace Guys. What's going on, Grace Guys? Many blessings to you all. Love y'all. Y'all take care. Enjoy your Saturday. Angela, how you doing? Bill's Backyard. What's going on? Shout out to Bills. Learning to grow my own. That's what I'm talking about. Learning to grow my own, baby. 100. Y'all take care. Black Guns. What's going on, Black Guns? Much love to you, Shy. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? I need to start. Let's see. The everyday life of an OCD-ish chick, Nikki. What's going on? Shout out to her channel. Y'all check it out, y'all. Kathy B. I think Nature 9 and family. How y'all doing? Let's see. I'm trying to make sure. Renee, how you doing? Trying to make sure I get everybody before I get out of here. Roots to a garden. Bless up, bless up. Y'all be well, be blessed. My phone tore up, so you know I can't really see a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna try to end this live. Y'all be blessed and take care. Enjoy your family, enjoy your day, okay? Grow.